Beacons of Light, Lighthouses by Gail Gibbons. Waves thrash and winds swirl, tossing a ship about in the darkness. Then in the distance, a light appears. It flashes 3 times, disappears, then flashes again. On board, the ship's crew recognizes that this is a lighthouse signal. It is telling them to veer away from something hidden beneath the water. The captain locates a rocky ledge on his chart and uses the light signal to plot their position. Oceans and lakes have always been dangerous for sailors. Storms and howling winds can carry a ship up on a sandbar or smash it to bits against a rocky coast. Lighthouses help guide ships and boats safely from one place to another. They warn of dangerous rocks and ledges, hidden points of land, sandbars, and narrow entrances to harbors. The first guiding lights were huge bonfires that burned brightly from the top of hills. In some places, sailors watched for landmarks, such as volcanoes, glowing in the night. For thousands of years, light signals didn't change very much. When lighthouses were built, they were often stone towers with fires burning at the top. The first lighthouse in North America was the Boston Light, built in 1716 from Little Brewster Island. It guided sailing vessels in and out of Boston Harbor. Over the next 100 years, many more lighthouses were built. Most were round and narrowed off at the top to resist wind and stormy seas. The light was placed high to be seen at a distance. These early lighthouses used wick lamps as a source of light, burning whale oil or fish oil for fuel. The lighthouse keeper learned to increase the light's brightness by placing reflectors behind them. In 1782, a Swiss scientist developed a brighter light. He had invented the circular wick. When whale oil became scarce, vegetable oil or lard then took its place. Later, kerosene was used. At that time, signals from lighthouses were visible only a few miles, even on a clear night. Then in 1822, the first modern light The burned lamp wick had to be trimmed or adjusted or cut off to keep the lamp from smoking. Lighthouse keepers were sometimes called wick trimmers or wickies. Lighthouse keepers and their families were kept busy cleaning and polishing the lenses, shining all the brass in the lighthouse, and cleaning soot off of the tower windows. The lighthouse keeper's house stood near or was attached Lighthouses are powered by electricity. Each lighthouse has its own identifying signal, called a characteristic. There are several kinds of lighthouse signals. A light that shines all the time is called a fixed light. A flashing light has periods of darkness longer than its periods of light. A group flashing light gives off 2 or more flashes at regular intervals. All lighthouse lights are white, red, green, or a combination of these 3 colors. After sighting and timing the flashes of a lighthouse, a ship's captain refers to his light list. From this light list, the captain can determine what lighthouse is in view and can then figure out the ship's location from looking at his charts. During daylight hours, a particular lighthouse can be identified by its distinct shape or painted pattern. When heavy fog settles in, lighthouses are difficult to see. For a time, cannons were used to warn ships and boats to stay away in the danger of fog. Shots were fired each hour. Later, lighthouse keepers rang bells, and sometimes guns and sirens or whistles were used as a danger signal. Today, many lighthouses have foghorns to give off warnings. Each foghorn has its own special sound and number of blasts. A diaphone is one of the best foghorns used. It uses compressed air to give off 2 tones, a high-pitched screech and a low grunt. The high sound can be heard for 7 miles, and the low tone travels even further. Lighthouses also use radio beacons to send warning signals. Lighthouses come in many sizes and shapes. Each was built to fit its own individual requirements for the location that it was at. Some of the newer lighthouses stand on stilts and hardly even look like lighthouses at all. Now, there are very few lighthouse keepers indeed. Some lighthouses stay on all the time, others go off and on automatically, and they are maintained by the Coast Guard. Although they have changed over the years, lighthouses are still beacons of light to guide and warn of danger, and they will remain with us from the past to today.